Good morning, everyone. This is Commissioner Scar, and today is Tuesday, April 29th, 2025, and we'll call this meeting to order at 8 a.m. As a reminder, our call-in number is 1-971-254-3149. Conference ID is 866-914-607#. Before we get started, I'd like to remind everyone to mute their phone. You can do this by pressing *6. Please unmute yourself when called to speak. Again, pressing *6. It is very important for all others to remain muted. Thank you. Okay, well, we will get started with the Board of Commissioners roll call. Commissioner Bell.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. And Commissioner Fournier, are you with us hiding behind a phone number today? I am not seeing him, and there's a good chance I should have known that he wouldn't be, so I apologize. He may have had a conflict that I had forgotten this morning. So with that, we will go ahead and get started with Adventist Health Tillamook. Eric Swanson. Good morning, Eric.
Hey, good morning, Commissioner. 8 patients in the hospital today, plus 1 brand new baby. Surgery had 9 surgery cases yesterday. Ambulance crews did 5 911 transports, 2 transfers, no transports home. 75 patients boarding in emergency departments across Oregon. That's 1 more than yesterday. 293 discharge delays, 1 more than yesterday. As we know, last week was National Volunteer Week, and I got a notice from the Oregon Health Authority, and they shared a story about our very own Velda Handler, who is one of our nurses here. She's been with us for more than 30 years, but she's also a volunteer manager and with the Tillamook County Medical Reserve Corps, specifically up in the Nehalem Bay area. And they did a very cool article about what Velda is contributing to North Tillamook County and the Medical Reserve Corps, and as well as other things when it comes to being a serve or volunteer. So if you have a chance, you can Google that and read. It's not a very long article, but it's really good. And we're just so proud of Velda. She's just an outstanding person, and we're proud of all of the people who are doing emergency volunteer work and Medical Reserve Corps work. So great article. Yesterday, we had the pleasure of hosting the 5th through 8th graders from the Tillamook Adventist School. They were on campus from 9 to 2 and got to go see various departments of the hospital and look at what healthcare looks like right here, up close and personal. So that was a ton of fun yesterday, and our leaders pulled out all the stops to give them a creative and interesting look at the various careers in healthcare. So it was fun to host them as well. And on Friday last week, we hosted a volunteer luncheon for our hospital volunteers. We have hospital volunteers who volunteer in the hospital, volunteers who are part of the No One Dies Alone program, and volunteers who are with our Wellspring Adult Respite program. And it was great to honor them. One of our volunteers received her lifetime accumulative number of hours of over 4,000 hours of volunteering. And Nancy has also been a volunteer at our organization for 20 years this year. So it was great to honor Nancy as well, and the rest of the volunteers. It was a good time. Came in the parking lot this morning, and we've got a drilling rig out and excavators and dump trucks and lots of activity in the back parking lot as we start to continue our work on our surgery project. So again, if you're on our campus, just be careful as you, especially if you're on the back side of the campus anywhere where trucks are coming and going. No new news on dialysis. I haven't heard any updates this week, but I imagine I will hear some by the end of the week, what the next steps are. So with that, unless you've got questions, I'll go back on mute.
Thank you, Eric. Are there any questions for Eric this morning? Okay, not hearing any. Thank you so much for being with us. We will move on. I am not seeing the Coastal Caucus with us this morning, and so I'll give a quick moment in case I'm missing someone. Okay, I would say that our senator and representative are, as we say, working as fast as they can down in Salem. Lots going on down there. Okay, we will move on to the Tillamook County Community Health Center. I believe we have Camille Sorensen this morning. Good morning, Camille.
Good morning. I also wanted to recognize, or we at Tillamook County Community Health wanted to recognize Velda and her volunteer work, specifically with our public health department during COVID. All told, she spent about 3.5 years working with us, helping testing, contact tracing, and distributing PPE. And then once the vaccine became available, she was really instrumental in helping us distribute vaccinations to the public as well. So we definitely want to recognize her efforts and the other emergency medical volunteers in our county. And the other item we wanted to bring forward is that Denim Day is tomorrow, Wednesday, April 30th. And for over 20 years, Peace Over Violence is a social service agency dedicated to the elimination of sexual and domestic violence and all forms of interpersonal violence. And they have the longest running sexual violence prevention and education campaign in history. And the first Denim Day campaign was in 1999. It originated after the 1998 Italian Supreme Court ruled to overturn a rape conviction. The justices felt that since the victim was wearing tight jeans, she must have helped remove them, thereby implying consent. The following day, the women in the parliament came to work wearing jeans in solidarity with the victim. So Denim Day asks community members, elected officials, businesses, and students to make a social statement with their fashion by wearing jeans on Wednesday, tomorrow, as a visible means of protest against the misconceptions that surround sexual violence. To learn more about Denim Day and resources for Sexual Assault Awareness Month, please visit our Facebook page later today at Tillamook CHC or go online to the National Sexual Violence Resource Center at www.nsvrc.org. And that is all we had today.
Thank you, Camille. Appreciate that. Okay, I don't believe we have Nehalem Bay Health Center and Pharmacy with us this morning. And I know that we do not have Tillamook Family Counseling Center with us this morning. So we will go ahead and move on to emergency management. And I believe that Anne is with us this morning.
Yes, hi.
Good morning.
Good morning, thank you. Well, I'll also spread the love to Velda Handler. She's a great help for TC4 is a countywide organization of emergency preparedness volunteers. And I don't know how we would do it without her. So definitely someone to be appointed to is a great help for our county. Additionally, I want to get on today to talk about the first ever meeting of the Tillamook Emergency Preparedness Group. It's coming up next week on Thursday, May 8th. Following our successful emergency preparedness event earlier this month, we want to pull people together, to see if we can create a volunteer group to help with emergency preparedness in Tillamook County. It's a big gap right now. We have about 8 official groups throughout the county, but no one really making a presence in the city of Tillamook, our main and largest city. So that will be Thursday, May 8th from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. at the Tillamook County Main Library. This is the first meeting. We're welcoming any people of any background, any skill or interest. This is a chance to really shape the group into what you think it needs to be and what you're interested in helping with. So would love to see some people there. Should be a good time. And that is all of our news.
All right, thank you so much. Appreciate that and excited about the energy that's forming here in Central Tillamook to put together a preparedness group. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
Okay, we will move on then to our Board of Commissioners. Commissioner Bell.
Good morning, everyone. Well, this meeting is just flying by. I appreciate everybody who has shouted out to honor Velda Handler. I was planning on doing the same, so I'm just going to go ahead and say that Velda is an extraordinary volunteer. She does so much work in so many areas, and I'm deeply grateful for her. Anne just mentioned TC4. When the preparedness group TC4 came back together, they really needed someone to help with organizing and to be the secretary, to do notes and agendas and come up with plans, and there wasn't anybody immediately able to step into that position, and Velda did. She as Eric mentioned earlier, Eric Swanson, Velda has worked for a long time with the Nehalem Bay Emergency Volunteer Corps and the Medical Reserve Corps. And so she's very busy, but she stepped in because she saw the need, and she is just doing an outstanding job. And I agree with Anne that I don't know what TC4 would do without her. And so, she's just remarkable, and I'm very grateful for her work. But it also reminds me of how much we are indebted to everyone who volunteers in our community. Our community is so much better, so much richer, better prepared. There's so much benefit to people volunteering, and I think when I was younger, I didn't really understand that. As a young person, I didn't grow up volunteering. I didn't understand it. I was very busy. I thought, who has time for that? And I'm glad that I grew out of that, because volunteers make a huge difference in our community. And so that kind of feeds into something I wanted to talk about for a minute. And it's just that I have been observing some really negative stuff on social media about the upcoming election. And it seems like, I don't think it's hyperbole to describe hate and intolerance that's happening on social media. And it makes me sad for our community. It just makes me sad, because it's not necessary. It's not kind. And it's just ugly. It's generating ugly energy. And I don't think it's going so far to say that some of the stuff that I've read is just hate speech. It's hate and intolerance. And I'm feeling for candidates, for all of the candidates, because it is really, back to what I was just saying about volunteering, it takes a lot of courage to stand up and say, I'm going to run for this office, especially if you haven't done it, even if you have, but especially if you haven't. It takes a lot of courage to stand up and put yourself in the public eye and say, I'm going to run for this elected office. And we need everyone in our community to feel like they're safe to do that. As I'm watching what's happening on social media right now, I've been very concerned that people who are watching this, who have never run for office, never run for school board or a water district or whatever, they'll look at that and think, no way am I doing that. So it's really like we're allowing character assassination online, not officially, but it's happening online. And the community some people are trying to shut it down. Other people are ignoring it. But the fact that character assassination is happening online in our community for candidates who stepped up and said, I want to run for this position, it's just really disheartening, and I think it's damaging. I think it is destructive. When I think about the size of our community and how dependent we all are on each other, and the way that people come together to volunteer, there's a group of people who are actively involved, who will step up and say, yes, I'll do this. Yes, I'll take this on. Yes, I'll be on this board. Yes. We're a community who says yes. And all of us will have a chance to work together at some point or another. And so I just think the wedges that are being driven in our community and the hate that's being spread is really destructive, not only in the short term, but in the long term, because all of us will need each other at some point. It could be in an emergency. It could be in a flood or a disaster, or working together on a school project, or we don't know what it could be, but our community is small enough that we can't afford to make enemies with one another. And I just really wish that we weren't tearing people down who are stepping up to run for office. Our power is in our vote. We have the power to vote for who we want to vote for. We don't have to tolerate smearing their names online. So I think I'm just going to stop there. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Bell. I really appreciate that. And I had my radio interview yesterday with Lisa, and we talked about that. So if you're interested in hearing more about my thoughts on that, I'll give a very brief here, but there's a half-an-hour interview with Lisa and I talking about how this hurts our community, how this hurts exactly everything that Commissioner Bell just said. She just summarized what we talked about for a half an hour. So I would add 2 points to it about hate speech. One of them is that hate speech is as defined, speech that attacks a person or a group on the basis of attributes such as race, religion, ethnic origin, national origin, sex, disability, sexual orientation, or gender identity. That is a really key way that hate speech differs from, well, I'm just talking about the issues. I'm just saying what's important to me in this election. It's different if you are absolutely, as Commissioner Bell said, tearing the person apart. And for these particular reasons, that is something that really shifts to hate speech. And the other piece about hate speech that I think is so important for us to understand is the dehumanizing that it does. It makes that not a person. It makes them a classification. And when they're not a person, they're just a classification. That's when we see the amplification of things such as violence in our communities. And that's been researched. It is not just a thought I have. There is research behind that shows that's where those next steps come from. So I really want people to realize that what we're doing as a community is exactly what Mary Faye said. It's tearing down our community. It's creating divides that I don't know how we heal. And it really can lead to violence and other things we don't want to see here. So thank you for bringing it up. And again, if you want to hear more, there's an opportunity. I know that the recording of Lisa and I's conversation is circulating on the internet. So I hope that folks will listen. And I hope that if you are hearing this in the community, you'll speak up. Just let people know, hey, I love to live here. And one of the reasons is I love it because we're kind and thoughtful to one another. Okay, enough with that. A couple other things to talk about. I spent a Sunday at the Home and Garden Show tabling for our ballot measure 29-183 on the transient lodging tax. And I just want to remind everyone, this is a tax paid by our visitors. I'd like to also remind everyone that it is an increase of 4%, going from 10% to 14%. There is a lot of information out there about it being a 40% increase. Yes. For you can do the math and make that be a 40% mathematical increase, but it is not going up by 4% directly, or 40%. It's going up by 4. So just kind of want people to think about that. And I want to remind people that the transient lodging tax we do collect is used in our community for projects that are important to both our residents and our visitors. So think Cape Kiwanda parking lot. We have bathrooms and parking there, which keeps our visitors from having to use that in all the businesses and or on people's lawns, which we saw during the pandemic. So this is funding beyond the public service funding that actually supports the needs in our community. When our visitors have what they need, we are less impacted by those visits. So I hope everyone will think about that as they cast their ballot this year. A couple other things that came up for me this week that I had just not thought about was one of them was noxious weeds. I'm not sure if everyone is aware that there is a noxious weed program that is under the Soil and Water Conservation District here in Tillamook, and Raymond Rowe is a great resource there. There are 4 noxious weeds that are listed in Tillamook County as something that homeowners are and property owners are required to control for themselves. And There are other noxious weeds that don't fall on that list that we don't have any oversight over. So if you have questions about that, I encourage you to call Ray Monroe with the Soil and Water District. He was so helpful to me and just such good information. So we do have a weed board, in case you were wondering. That's where it is. It is a very limited number of weeds on that list, because what that list really does is provide, much like an ordinance would, an opportunity for the county to require people to take care of those weeds. And we just don't have the capacity to be telling people how to take care of millions and millions of kinds of weeds. The 4 that have been chosen due to the threat that they are to our community and to our ecosystems. So again, interesting stuff. The last thing I'll talk about quickly is the Tillamook Lightwave met last week. For those that are tracking the BEAD grants at the state level, the BEAD grant applications are out. This is an opportunity for a provider to apply to get funding to serve unserved or underserved parts of our county. And Astound, which is a partner of Lightwave, is applying for Tillamook County because it needed to be a provider who applied. So we won't probably know things for quite a while, but those applications are in the process of being created, and we have our fingers crossed that that will allow us to reach out to some of the underserved and unserved areas in Tillamook County. With that, I will wrap up for me, and we'll move on to Manzanita with Mayor Stock.
Good morning, Commissioner Scar. Can you hear me okay?
Good morning, we can.
Great. I just have 2 things, actually 3 things. I'm going to be the 5th person on this call to give a 5th shout out to Velda Handler, who's a prized member of the community here and lives just down the road, as they say, off the 101. So it's really nice to see and hear someone who has worked so hard and so quietly and modestly, to have them acknowledged like she has been this morning. So that's just terrific. And that was very nice. So thanks to everyone who said something there. Secondly, we have got an important meeting this afternoon for our city. All the cities and county, et cetera, are working on this right now, but it's budget. This afternoon at 2:00, our full budget committee, which is our 5 citizen members, volunteers for that committee, as well as the full council, will be meeting. It's a Zoom meeting. We'll be meeting with our city manager. This is the first kind of big formal meeting in the cycle of meetings for budget. She will be presenting that to us, and we will be listening and asking questions and making sure we understand what is being proposed. So that's happening this afternoon too. The link for that, of course, is on our website. And after a lot of work, we are finally now out to bid for the Classic Street project, which is for us, our small town, a very big public works project. Information about that is also available on the website. And that's it for Manzanita this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate it. Any questions for the mayor? Okay, not hearing any. We will jump right down to Rockaway Beach with Mayor McNeely. Good morning.
Good morning. This is Mayor McNeely from the city of Rockaway Beach. A handful of items to mention this morning. The city is working with Ziply Fiber on a franchise agreement for high-speed internet in Rockaway Beach. The city is also working with the Tillamook County Health Department on a lease extension for their satellite office at our city hall. Regarding our Jetty Creek watershed acquisition, the Oregon Watershed Enhancement Board voted unanimously to fund our drinking water source protection grant at the full amount requested, which is a $1.25 million award. The Source Water Protection Plan Development Advisory Committee voted unanimously to approve the Source Water Protection Plan. City Council to consider and adopt in May, and if adopted, it is sent to the Department of Environmental Quality and Oregon Health Authority for their blessing. And then the Budget Committee approved our 2025-26 budget onto the City Council for consideration and adoption during our May council meeting. And then I'll end just by thanking Commissioner Scar and Bell for their comments on the nasty, ugly, horrible stuff going on in social media and the campaign. It's very sad for our community. And I'll just say, we just can't let the bastards grind us down. We need to stay strong, flood the field with accurate information, and move forward in a positive, inclusive away as a community and as elected officials and candidates. So with that, I'll turn it back to you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Mayor. Any questions for the mayor? Okay, not hearing any. We will go on to Bay City and Mayor Welch.
Good morning. This is Mayor Welch from Bay City. I'd like to start with Saturday. We had the State of the City, and it was a good turnout. The food was really delicious from our local vendors. I want to thank all of those that attended and the staff that put a lot of work into that. And we started, use that as an opportunity to start our strategic plan and getting comments from citizens that attended the State of the City on what do you want the city to look like in 5 to 10 years, and how can we strive to do that. I would also like to congratulate Evan Sandin. Evan works in our Bay City Fire Department, and he was promoted from lieutenant to captain. So congratulations to Captain Sandin. We also met yesterday with the Bay City Water Districts, and we got an update on our whole water system, including the progress on the isolation valves on 2 of our water reservoirs. And these isolation valves are designed so when we shake that, and all the pipes break in our community, that we still have water in our reservoirs. I'd like to thank Public Works Director Ray Marquis for making this happen at the project level. But also, these are funded by the state legislature. So I'd also like to thank Senator Weber and Representative Javadi for making this happen for our community. And that's all I have for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate that. Any questions for the mayor? Wow, not hearing any. That's one of the fastest meetings we've had. And so I'll just go ahead and wrap us up today by thanking everyone for attending and thanking KTIL for broadcasting. We will go ahead and adjourn at 8:26 a.m. Enjoy your day.